Short-term fixes that don't focus on state building will mean we return to this issue year after year, prolonging the suffering of the Somali people. Reports of incidents and accusations of human rights abuses by Ethiopian troops are difficult to corroborate and have been categorically denied by the Ethiopian government. Ethiopian troops in Somalia are carrying out a role that security providers currently in Somalia do not have the capacity for. Many critics forget that fighting between militias has been going on for 15 years before Ethiopia intervened at the invitation of Somalia's transitional federal government. African Union member nations have not yet committed to contributing sufficient troops to allow for full deployment of the African Union mission in Somalia, which currently has only 2,400 of the 8,000 troops mandated. Further planning for a possible UN mission was called for by UN Security Council Resolution 1814, although this is unlikely to be mandated soon. Evidence from other Ethiopian peacekeeping deployments indicates that they make a positive contribution to missions. Ethiopian troops are currently likely to form the largest contingent of the UN African Union mission to Darfur. We regularly engage with human rights organisations, listen to their views and appreciate their efforts to gather information and evidence on human rights. We and they fully acknowledge that allegations of abuse are made against all parties to the conflict in Somalia. We sponsored an area meeting in the United Nations in New York on the 31st of March to enable governments and the non-governmental organisation community to freely discuss human rights and humanitarian issues and exchange views on how to achieve progress in Somalia. And the Honourable Gentleman may be interested to know that in responding to a question from my Honourable friend, the Member for Stroud, I indeed said that we unreservedly condemn all proven incidents of human rights abuse and expect those responsible to face justice. My noble friend, the Minister for Africa, raised the issue of human rights in Somalia with the Ethiopian Prime Minister in late January 2008. Our ambassador to Ethiopia regularly raises respect for human rights in Somalia at senior levels of the Ethiopian government. Foreign Office and Foreign and Commonwealth officials in London and at the UN have also raised this issue with their Ethiopian counterparts. Ethiopia has told us that they intend to withdraw from Somalia and that they have reduced force numbers by more than half since late February 2007. The Ethiopian government is extremely positive about the newly signed peace agreement, which includes a strategy for their withdrawal from Somalia. Until Ethiopia withdraws its troops completely, we urge them to use only appropriate force, adhere to international humanitarian law and respect human rights. But for Ethiopia to withdraw from Somalia before an effective alternative force has been established would risk creating a dangerous security vacuum. Somalis would suffer the most from such a development. The UK is a leading contributor to world efforts to rebuild the Somali state. We support the efforts of the UN Secretary-General's Special Representative for Somalia to engage with civil society and to help bring about social and political reconciliation that will lead to greater respect for human rights and religious freedoms for all Somalis. Through helping to shape UN Security Council policy and our membership of the EU and the International Contact Group, we press for greater focus on human rights in Somalia. We asked the UN to enhance its capacity to monitor and report on the human rights situation in Somalia, and fully supported the Human Rights Council's resolution on the 20th of March to renew the mandate of an independent expert. Both UN Security Council Resolution 1814, unanimously adopted on the 15th of May, and the EU General Assembly and External Relations Council conclusions, adopted on the 26th of May, support the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, including the independent expert for Somalia, and encourage them to undertake a fact-finding and assessment mission to Somalia to address the human rights situation. We co-chair the donors group and are the second largest bilateral humanitarian development donor. We are also the second largest bilateral donor after the US for the African Union mission to Somalia. We are a key donor to the UN Development Programme effort to develop a full justice system, including providing, improving the police force, judiciary and penal system to an international accepted standard. I understand the honourable gentleman had thought that this issue was a matter for the Department for International Development. This policy area, I can confirm to him, is that of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. We value human rights highly. No other states are as active as the UK on human rights issues in Somalia. We urge other states to join our efforts and encourage international human rights organisations to concentrate their advocacy activities on pressing other less active states for support too.
The question is, this House do now adjourn. Do not been say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order.